And away we go. It is the BCJ Holy Grail podcast right here on BearcatJournal.com. I'm Chad Brendel. He's Dave Simone. As always, huge shout out to our title sponsor, our longtime sponsor, our great friends at the Holy Grail, where I guess you don't get to go to watch baseball yet, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Hopefully they will be playing ball soon, just so our good friends at the Holy Grail can benefit.
Yeah, I'm waiting on bated breath.
Screw the owners. Just help out our friends at the Holy Grail.
That's right. Oh, I want them to.
It's good for business. If the Reds are playing, it's good for business for our friends. That's all. All right, Dave, we got a lot to get to today.
As always.
First off, did you get a good sweat in? Did you make it to the end? Because the end was very interesting from your perspective. It was a wild final minute.
Wes Miller getting a technical almost cost me
a significant amount of money.
Because the boys for a minute there decided that they weren't going to get blown out. And then in the last minute, they were kind of like, yeah, whatever. And Houston was like, yeah, okay, we'll take these easy buckets. And
Mike Adams-Woods had a 3 to cut it to 15 at the horn.
I wasn't exactly worried.
But those are the kind that fall, right? Guy goes
for sure.
1 for 6 all game and then hits the one at the
horn to lose by 15 and push, which I wanted it at 14.5, didn't get it till 15. So I was like, that half point at the end, I was stressing out about. But no,
ball was in the air on that 3. You were a little like, come on.
Had a decent night. Nova first half against Providence, and then the crazy Oakland game with IUPUI only having 5 players.
That ended up very close. It was close for a while, wasn't it?
I took the under. They scored 47 combined points in the first half, and I'm thinking, this is gravy, baby. Like, these dudes aren't going to get at it in the second half. Oh no, big second half, and somewhere in the last 12 seconds, IUPUI makes a totally meaningless 3 to go over. So it was almost a perfect night, but we're going to get back on that horse tomorrow night, I can tell you that much.
I don't know. I'd worry about tomorrow night if you're betting against the Bearcats.
Well, I got to see what the line is first.
Yeah, true that. Let's get to last night. It was a valiant effort in the first half, and really outside of that second segment in the second half, or second or third segment, one of the two. They held their own in terms of at least keeping Houston in check. But boy, when they grind to a halt offensively, it is hard to watch. 28% from the field in the second half, 18% from 3, a whopping 25% from the free throw line. They slashed 28, 18, 25 and didn't completely get their doors blown off is almost a miracle.
Yeah, I think, very rarely effort has been an issue. Like, that's not the deal. They're just not. I mean, defense has been an issue, and I thought defensively that's as well as they played in a while. There was a kind of a stretch in the first half where Houston looked like they were going to just end it real quick, and then UC fought back. And I think you can tell with Houston, like, they're going to go through stretches because the parts just aren't all there, and you're just asking, auxiliary pieces to play too many minutes. Like in the second half, their offense.
They played 7 guys.
Yeah, I mean, and really, how much would they have even played 7 guys if the one guy doesn't get hit in the mouth?
Yeah, I mean, they only had two guys off the bench play more than 10 minutes. They had a guy play 3 minutes and a guy play 1 minute, and that was their entire rotation. Starters went 29, 34, 37, 27, 36.
So I think when you're doing that, you're going to get a couple segments
Lulls,
where it's not going good, but you see just they don't have the whatever you want to call it, firepower, guns to take advantage of those situations.
They also don't have anybody that can even remotely slow down Fabian White.
No, he was. I mean, he was the first 10 minutes of the game. Dude was on pace for 50.
He had 20 at halftime. So he wasn't that far off from pace for 50 at the break.
No,
only ended with 28. So
his development has been, to me, like, I mean, you remember a couple of years ago, he was
He was just one of their bodies. He was one of the guys to come in and beat the crap out of people.
Yeah. I mean, what he's turned into has been impressive, but
he's had 8 years to develop, though. So
it definitely seems that way. I don't, I'm not trying to like shrug it off per se, but like I don't really know that there's much to glean from last night. Like it's kind of the same stuff. You play a really, really good defensive team, and you have moments where it's basically impossible to score. And that's what we've seen at stretches this year. And, they're just, I don't know, there's a game left before the conference tournament. You're in a wild end of February, beginning of March run where they seem to be playing practically almost every other day. And you're just not going to go into Houston, I don't think, unless you have a 16-3 type performance. And they started out hot, but I mean, they flashed it on the screen over the last, I don't know if it was 5 or 6 games. The best 3-point shooting game they had was in the low 30%.
Yeah, 33, 32%. Yeah.
Everything else was in the 20s and even low 20s. So you're just, I mean, you're you don't want to say it, but like you're playing out the string at this point. Like
you're limping to the finish line.
Yeah, I'd say limping would be generous too.
Crawling. Well, I would have said much worse until I thought they played pretty well yesterday. Houston's just better.
They played better than they've been playing recently, but yeah, Houston's a much, much better team than the teams they've been playing recently. So you still end up getting a lopsided score. I don't know if it was, I mean, obviously it wasn't that close. It was that much of a spread. It was a 10-point game with like a minute left. 10, 12-point game with a minute left. It ends up being 18. But I don't know if that's much consolation for anybody.
Considering the last 3 games they've played Houston, absolutely. Are you there?
Yeah, they're I don't know. I don't really compare the two too much. Like Houston to me is a drastically different team, and so is UC.
Dave, that last game earlier in the season in Cincinnati was 20-3.
No, I mean
the second media time
going back into last year.
Okay, but they got beat. They got beat by 40 in both of those games last year.
Okay, so I'm supposed to be like, hey, we're only getting beat by 20 now.
Hey, improvement might be marginal, right, but it is improvement.
Yeah.
My point being, those games weren't competitive, and the first game this year ultimately was not really. I mean, they had the one stretch at the end of the first half, right, where they cut it to 11 or whatever going into the half, right, and then as soon as they came out in the second half, they cut it to 8, and then Houston spikes it back to 14, and it was never really close. Like, if you're measuring yourself against the best team in the league, Houston's the best team in the league, there is at least some improvement that was displayed last night. That's all.
Okay.
Not that there's moral victories. Not that there's, what I'm saying is they just didn't come. They came out and at least were still standing in the ring after like the second round.
Oh,
I guess
yeah,
is my point.
Yeah, I mean they for sure that is the case. But I mean, I'm not sure at this stage. Like, if you try to hang your hat on that, you know?
No, I'm not hanging my hat on anything. I'm talking about the game. We're doing a podcast.
No, I'm not talking about you. I saw some stuff along those lines today, and I'm just kind of like, okay, if that's the angle we want to take, that's fine. Like, yes, last year we lost by an average of 38. This year only by an average of 20. Okay, cool.
Improvement. I did like what I saw from John Newman last night.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is you have parts that you like, but we just don't get to see those parts for long extended times, and we don't get to see them with complementary pieces. Like, John Newman to me is like the quintessential guy that we have had on this roster for 20 years as like the third option.
Right.
Like, I'll shoot it even. I'll go all the way back, and I'm not comparing their games, but I'm just comparing the situations. Emmanuel McElroy, Deion Dixon, like Rashad Bishop, like dudes that you like. They're Bearcats. They're tough. They can help you out, but they're not going to go for 20, and you can't need them to go for 20.
Right. What he should be doing is exactly what he did last night.
Right.
Which was 11 points, 7 rebounds. Right.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I cut you off. But
instead, he was the best. You know, him and Saunders were the two best players. And what it comes down to these last 2.5, 3 weeks is pretty easy. Teams have said, look, we're not going to let the Julius beat us. Like I said this on the BBP, and I'm interested in your take. The absolute worst thing that could have happened was those 3 games where DeJulius had 25, 24, and 23. Because then everybody looked at it and went, oh, well, their offense is bad. And if we take the ball out of his hands, they're dead. If he scores 15, 16, and 12, when they're breaking down tape, they don't go, oh, well, this is easy. This formula is about as easy as it humanly gets, right?
Well,
stop it. They've got nothing.
The absolute worst is if he didn't do that, then there's probably 3 more losses.
Well, 2 of them were in losses, I think.
Okay,
so.
But from a scouting standpoint and the way that you stop this team is, I mean, you don't let him get going. You push out on JD, and you just kind of are like, no one else is good enough to beat us.
And it was factual.
You could push JD out to half court. He's not going to pump fake and go by and try to drive by you. So you just keep pushing him out, and then you just basically don't let David get the ball, which is easier said than done. But that's the other problem. Like, it's easier to say don't let him get the ball when you don't have to worry about 3 of the other guys on the floor.
Right. Well, he's getting the ball. They're just not letting him do anything with it.
Right. I mean, like, don't let him get in the ball and get into his sweet spots and where he wants to go. I mean, it's impossible to not just to, unless you just had, 2 guys
deny him the whole game.
Deny him the whole time. It's impossible from that standpoint, but it's like, let him get the ball 30 feet from the basket. Don't let him, get into his game and just force Jeremiah further and further away from the basket. There's not much they can do about it.
I mean, they were 5 for 20 last night, 4 for 20 last night, something like that, after 4 for 19 against South Florida. Like, this team's just not good, especially you play Houston. They're going to hit an avalanche on you. And it went from 6 to like 17 in one segment. And it was like, yep. Unfortunately, the book is out, and Houston is very good at reading the book. Their scouting report defense is very good, and they're fundamentally sound.
Right, and you have when you play a short-handed team like that, but even with them being short-handed, they're still such a great rebounding team that they can still control the game even with only going 7 deep because they just get so many extra possessions.
Well, like you look at the first segment of the game. Cincinnati did an outstanding job defensively right out of the gate. But it was 11-9 at the first media stop because Houston had 7 second chance points of their 9. So really, like, they had one play where they got a good look. It was a dunk. Everything else, they took tough contested shots. Cincinnati battled for the rebound. Houston ends up with it, and boom, instead of 11-4, and you're feeling real good about yourself to start the game, it's 11-9. And you're like, we just threw the kitchen sink at them and we're up 2. We had 3 threes. We're 3 of 5 from 3. Things are moving pretty well. We're playing good, first possession defense, and we can't keep them off the glass.
We haven't thrown any passes to any coaches yet.
A couple of those last night. Oof. Promising from Mike Saunders, 14 points. He shot it well.
Very, but and I don't want to, but it's like, but it's the whole team and the whole season. Like, you want to be excited about that, but then you're like, Thursday night, is he going to turn around and, go 1 for 5 from the field?
Right.
They're just not able to, whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's a myriad of reasons. They just haven't been able to stack performances. And that's, and I know fans get frustrated and, every fan base has their fringes, the ones that are, no matter what, it's still okay. And, they find the positive in any little thing. And then there's the ones that are, we need 13 new players and a new coaching staff. And it's definitely not either one of those, but I understand the frustration not in that, like, this isn't a tournament team. I don't think anybody realistically thought that it was. I think the frustration lies in just the overall performance that we've seen February into March, bumped up against the notion that the league, like, outside of Houston and Memphis, not great. So, like, you can live with the rebuilding and the struggles, if you feel like you're, like, if this season right now was happening in the Big 12, no one would say a thing. Because they'd be like, it's the Big 12. It's like the first or second best conference. We're just getting our footing. But it's we're losing to teams that we're better than, or we're not having good performances against teams that we think might be ahead of us in the standings this year, but perennially for the last several seasons that's not been the case. So, like, what is the slide about? Like, should there be bigger concerns? So, I mean, like, I can understand some of the reaction and some of the commentary on it.
Yeah, I mean, I can as well. And look, this is, we've talked about this before. Cincinnati basketball is the one thing in town that the fan base consistently over the past 30 years has experienced winning. Like, this is not 17 and 14 in conference, or 17 and 13 in conference is not something that happens here. So, and fading down the stretch like they have is just not something that happens here. So I get why fans are a little jumpy. Like, I get why they're uneasy, because they're just not used to dealing with this. They're used to settling in for February heading into March and getting ready to see their team selected to the NCAA tournament and planning a trip and going to root them on and to see the program in a state of working through things. I don't want to call it a rebuild, but it's not far off from a rebuild. It makes people uneasy. I understand. I get it. But you also have to step back and realize like how we got here.
Oh,
why we got here.
For sure. But I think it's fair to say that it's a rebuild. It's not a tear down, but I mean, you got several new parts, new coaching staff. You're going to have, whether it's because of graduation, transfer, you're going to have several new parts again next year. Like this isn't like a grab a couple dudes here and there and restock like we talk about with football. Like you have a pipeline of players that you feel good about, but just haven't been able to get on the floor because there's so many other good players ahead of them.
Right.
You just hope that, like we kind of talked about last week, you hope it's a 2-year rebuild and you're kind of like ready to roll as best you can going into 2023.
Right. Tomorrow night, they have typically played very well against SMU. This will be an SMU team essentially fighting for their tournament life. I think most of the projections, like best case I've seen for them is play-in game.
You can't lose this game and think you're getting in the tournament unless you win the American.
Or make it to the finals, or
I mean, I still don't know because like what wins is that giving you to get to the finals?
Yeah, true. I mean, unless you get they'll get Memphis, I would guess, right? Is Memphis 3?
I
don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't even know. Obviously, it starts and stops with they did a phenomenal job stopping Kendrick Davis in the first matchup.
Right.
That will be a lot less likely tomorrow.
Yeah, you think it's going to happen twice?
Right. But if you hold him to, 8 points again, you definitely have a chance to knock off SMU. Now, their defense isn't great, so you would hope that it's at least I know. That's what I'm saying. You would hope at least that this is maybe a chance for the offense to can we get over 40% from the floor? Like that would be a nice bonus, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're just you just look at the point totals. I mean, it's so like they have to play such insanely great defense, which they just haven't done. You have these outlier games, like everything is in the 50s and low 60s for the last month.
Yeah.
It's hard to win that way. It's hard.
They're due, Dave. They're due.
They are.
Short rest.
I'm always the one that it's like, their bad free throw shooting is going to catch up to them. Or like, use the Bengals for an example. They can't pass protect. It's going to catch up to them. And I'm always like, or it's not. Like, it more typically than not does catch up to you at some point. But like, right. Or they're just not a good offensive team, and it doesn't matter if the other team is like really good at defense or not. Like, just because you're open, hasn't
mattered for a while, right?
Right. I mean, like, just because you might be more open doesn't mean you're gonna make the shot.
Correct.
I mean, we've seen plenty of UC teams that could play 5-on-0 and would struggle to get to 75 points.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying.
Oh, I know. Hey, at least
I hope that it's going well for the guys across town.
Yeah. We can. I try to take my biases out of it. I'm just going to ask like a very basic question. From a purely like basketball and personality standpoint, like why does anyone like Travis Steele?
I mean, I don't have a overall.
I mean, if you're Xavier, like why are you saying like, yep, let's give him another year?
Yeah, that part I'm curious about. Like, I mean, I guess it's probably the same reason That's always the case, which is money. And
right, but I mean, like, just strictly like from a basketball and like program building sense, like, I don't get it, but whatever. This isn't a Xavier podcast, but they happen to be playing right now.
They're down 13, 4 minutes to go.
Oh well,
14. It's tough. Hate to see it.
Tough luck.
Hate to see it. Yeah. I don't know. I think if they play like last night, they have a chance to beat SMU. I do. Maybe I'm crazy, but the defense played really well. The offense is the offense, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me.
The last couple games, I mean,
it's hard for me to look at the way things have been going, and I mean, of course, yes.
I mean,
could they? Sure. I mean,
tough
SMU
part
is,
you look like.
What?
I was just saying, like they only scored 61 against Houston.
Yeah, I
mean, but they scored 75 against Tulsa, 73 against Memphis. You're going to have to score at least 65, close to 70, if you're going to have a chance to win this game.
I would think that's a fair assessment.
Are we comfortable that they can do that? No.
Oh, absolutely.
No, we're not. But maybe their second best game that they played all year was against SMU outside of Illinois. Would you agree with that? They pretty much controlled that game start to finish.
I think
like
that's fair.
That was a comfortable win.
I think they played pretty good at Wichita.
Yeah, but they also late they let Wichita crawl back into that where it should have been a 17, 18 point game.
But I mean, that first half was about as good as they've played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No argument
there. That's like another home game for UC, so, makes sense.
I don't have a whole lot else more on basketball. Do you?
No.
Aaron, pull up the standings if you can. Is there something that we were wrong about that I need to correct? So we talked about Cincinnati being locked into the 7th seed because we were looking at loss totals.
You have to look at win
totals. You have to look at win percentage. And if East Carolina wins against, I think, Wichita this weekend, then their win percentage would jump Cincinnati if Cincinnati loses to SMU. If they win, they're, I think, locked into the 7th seed. If they lose, there is a chance East Carolina could jump them.
So we would be in the 8.
And I think there's also a chance Wichita could jump them.
Yeah. If they win.
So there'd be an 8-9 game. Yeah.
Cool. Can't say I spent a lot of time on my American Athletic Conference tournament bracket.
No, nor have I, Dave, nor have I. You'd obviously prefer to be the 7 and be in there with SMU than be the 8-9, which would be Houston. You don't want to have to mess with that if you don't have to. And yeah, Memphis is 3rd. So that would be the path. If you're the 7, you'd have to go through SMU and then Memphis to get to the.
Just go. Give me the give me the hardest path. I want to play the best team.
Ironically, the easiest path would just be to beat Houston in that second game, win the 8-9 game, beat Houston in that second game, and then it's a cakewalk to the championship, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Another shot at Temple. Thanks, Jason. Tulsa beats Wichita tonight, and Wichita beats ECU this weekend, and we're the 7 no matter what happens tomorrow. Win tomorrow. Yeah, win tomorrow and 7 is locked in, I knew. There's just that wacky winning percentage based on whatever's left. And let's face it, nobody cares.
Our crack research staff bailing us out.
Yeah. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate you. You'll talk some football?
I would love to talk some football.
Timestamp it, Aaron. All right. The news of the day. I started getting a little wind of this yesterday. Didn't fully get it confirmed. And of course, as always, got scooped by Pete Thamel because that's just what happens around here. But Greg Scruggs headed off to the NFL to be the assistant D-line coach with the New York Jets. I'd have been a lot more worried about this a month ago, right? Because I think the solution's pretty easy.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's, we have some fans that don't like it when coaches leave and, whatever. I don't get concerned because, like, when coaches have left, the preceding hires, which one of them has Luke just like totally whiffed on? So, like,
I mean, maybe whiffed, but maybe Chad Wilt.
Yeah, but that was
frustrated with because it was
year.
a year.
I mean,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, maybe you get frustrated with that one because it was a 1 year and he was in and out the door about as quick as he got here.
I mean, he's shown to be like one of the biggest movers I've ever seen. Like, the guy is at a new job every year.
Yeah,
and not because he's getting fired.
No, he just keeps.
But like,
ping.
If it's in Luke we trust, then like, why? Like, it hasn't affected recruiting in the past. Recruiting keeps getting better. Coaches keep leaving. Like,
and you have the defensive line coach on staff. You just hired him.
Yes, I mean the position that Walt was in is such a niche position that you can, if you choose,
you hired him to that position just to get him on staff,
right? So you can move him to defensive line coach if you like, because he has coached defensive line at multiple schools.
I would be shocked if he's not the next defensive line.
And then you take your time. It might not even be like a replacement of that type of coach. I mean,
you have a linebackers coach.
Right. I mean, maybe someone else is now available that you want to add, that you want to split defensive ends and defensive tackles.
Right.
I mean, it's just, Scruggs seemed like an awesome dude and good recruiter, and he's obviously a good coach, good developer, I think,
Yeah.
Really brought some of those guys along the last couple of years, but like, I'm not really giving it like a ton of time from
No, but I mean, it's, again, this is a podcast, and
right, but I'm just explaining like why to me it's not something to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the hard part there is you do have, while you have some experience at the top of this defensive line, you're going to be working in a lot of young guys. So you probably would have, preferred to have that continuity for this year.
Oh, for sure. I'm not saying it's ideal,
but
far from it.
You also still have, in Malik, Jabari, and Jawan Briggs, three guys that played a lot of football.
Mm-hmm.
At the top. So especially like a D line, like, I don't mind changing D line coaches every 2-3 years, just because there's so many different like techniques and coaching styles for defensive line and different ways to attack the position. I don't hate it. Like, I've talked to a couple of those guys that have played D-line here and had, 3 coaches in 4 years, 4 coaches in 4 years. And for the most part, they say it helped because, you got this perspective from this guy, you learn these techniques, and then you got a new guy and you learn some new techniques and you stacked. Like, that's a position that you're always, I think, looking for more knowledge, looking for more technique, looking for more skill. So I don't think it's a terrible thing for D-line to kind of, obviously you don't want to have a new one every year.
Right.
But I don't think it's a terrible thing to have different voices coach your D-line room over, a cycle or two.
For sure.
And yeah, I'll be shocked if it's not Walt. Shocked.
Yeah, it's just.
We get a Luke Fickell press conference tomorrow.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Spring preview press conference. So looking forward to that. And then we're getting Arquan Bush and Trey Tucker. Also get a little Coach Guggen's action. So
I love every time Pro Football Focus posts something about Kyle Hamilton giving up one touchdown his entire career. I'm always like, yeah, Trey Tucker, say what's up.
Yeah. Made him look silly, too. Silly. Defense. Preview the defense.
Sure.
Spring football preview continues. We're looking at the defense. Start with the D-line. New D-line coach. But we kind of just touched on this. It's an interesting group because you have three guys that you believe and know that you can count on at the top.
Yeah, I mean, you've got three guys that have played a lot of football in their careers.
Yeah.
And then you have like nothing in between. It's three dudes that have played a ton, and then a whole bunch of dudes that have hardly played or not played at all.
I mean, we've seen a very little of Eric Phillips. We've seen very little of Justin Watley. I think that's it, right?
I think so.
I mean, there's not a lot of depth, proven depth yet behind them, but we've seen this before where, who's going to step up and there's so far during the Luke Fickell era typically been guys ready to make the step. I've heard some good things in people I've talked to about Watley, that his maturity and his work ethic and dedication to the game is getting to where, the staff wants it to be, which is a good thing. I've heard some good things about Dominique Perry, who I think has a chance to be pretty good in that defensive tackle role. It sounds like, and I guess we'll, with the new D-line coach, we'll see, but it sounds like Eric Phillips is going to kick outside to maybe more of a 3 technique, which will be interesting because he was the one guy that, you thought would be able to give you some depth at defensive tackle. Looks like Dominique Perry and the Godfather, Dante Corleone, will be battling for that backup nose tackle spot. And then the big question is, like, who's going to be that backup 5 tech? Who's going to be the backup pass rusher? I think they're excited about a guy like, Jamal Williams. But
yeah.
Is he still a year away? Like, what are you going to be able to put him in the rotation and trust it? So that'll be one, we'll definitely have to keep a close eye on as spring practice unfolds. What's your take? What are you doing? You haven't looked up in 12 minutes.
12 minutes, that's a stretch. I was reading something. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what spring's for. That's hopefully some of those things get answered. We get an idea of, not answered like affirmatively, but we get an idea of, okay, this guy is who they see as filling this role, and this guy looks like he's progressing at a good rate, and maybe by the fall he's in that rotation and he's getting 15-20 snaps a game.
What about Rob Jackson? Yes. What about him? Like, we don't know yet.
we could just list his name. I mean,
right. Like, we don't
still
know
on the
yet.
team, but like, I don't know.
He looks great.
Yeah.
In terms of guys like getting off the bus. Yeah.
Hopefully
we haven't seen anything from him yet.
You know, I hope he's one of those dudes.
Me too. Be great if he is, because physically he's everything you want.
Yeah, it's just a lot of wait and see. Honestly, I mean, you just don't know. And I think they'll get a good, you know, like in years past when I think we focused a lot of our attention on the wide receiver defensive back matchup, whether it's, you know, new wide receivers, new defensive backs. I think a lot of our attention when watching the defensive line will be, are they getting more so with like the second and third teamers? I mean, I'm not saying like Malik and Jabari and Jawan are going to struggle or anything, but like if the offensive line is having a day, you know, I want to see.
And they do a lot of ones versus twos, which you've got a veteran offensive line. I'm excited to see like what young guys at what point in time flash against this veteran first team offensive line.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's I mean, we talk about corner being, you know, a big unknown. The backups on the defensive line are just as much of a and that's important because that's a rotation, right? Like you don't want your 3 defensive linemen out there 60 snaps. You'd like them to be out there 40 snaps, 45, 50 snaps. Right. Which means you need your second team to be able to eat up another 20, 30 snaps.
Especially if, and we don't know this, but I mean, like, if you see more 4-2-5, I'm not saying you will or won't, but what?
I don't know personnel-wise, you can go 4 down linemen right now.
Exactly. I mean, but yeah, I mean, the defense is littered with these, you know, these types of questions. So it'll be interesting. You're breaking in so many new parts, but then you're also breaking in a new quarterback. So it's like, how do those two things go up against each other?
Right. Linebacker, I think, even though you're losing 2 really important guys, I think linebacker is probably the spot you feel best about on defense, right? Because you still have Huber.
Easily. I mean, you have Huber, you have Pace, you have New Pace.
New Pace.
And you've got Pony Boy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got 4 dudes right there that you feel in whatever role they carve out for themselves, you feel good about that. Like,
and you have Jaheim Thomas, you have David Jones, you have Little Dingle.
Little Dingle.
It just cracks me up because he's 5 inches taller than his brother. You have Cam Jr. Like, you've got 6, 7 guys at linebacker. I think you feel pretty comfortable putting on the field. Even if there's a lack of experience, you don't feel like you're going to be overmatched at linebacker.
No, for sure. I mean, especially when you're talking about the top 4. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you're only going to, you know, with the styles of offenses they play, you're only going to play so many linebackers on first and second down anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they've been pretty consistent with 3.
Right, but I mean, like, you're not going to go too deep into your roster unless you have injuries.
I mean, my guess is we'll continue to see the combo of Van Fossen and Pace at the dollar.
Yes.
I mean, they combined for 140 tackles, 130 tackles last year. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You're getting to keep two really high-level guys out there, and play fresh and play fast and play physical. So I think you'll still see that. My guess is we'll see Huber in the middle and Jaheim Thomas at weak side with Pace rotating in, would be my guess.
Yeah.
It's time to get Jaheim Thomas on the field. Like I've seen it. I think we've seen enough from him.
This will be something I'll be interested to see, and I'm just might be pulling this out of my ass, but like on third down, can you bring Huber down as like a stand-up rush end?
Probably.
And bring Pace or Jaheim, because Pace is also a pretty good rushing threat. Bring another one of those guys in, so you have four down. You not that you're replicating or replacing Majay, but you're bringing a bigger guy who is familiar with rushing the passer in as a fourth defensive lineman, and then you still have your speed guys in it at linebacker, and then another guy that can rush and go sideline to sideline.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I mean, that's what they love about Huber is his ability to get to the quarterback, right?
Right.
Now, I don't know if you'll see him as like a hand in the dirt. But
no, I think
like
he's a stand-up guy. I mean, he's not he's a straight line dude. He's not really a sideline to sideline. So, like, just put him on the edge and on 3rd and 9, just be like, go get, just rush.
Well, yeah, that's what he did last year. So he's comfortable with doing it already. Like, he might have done it from more of a between the tackles type position, but
right.
But still, yeah, I think they'll find creative ways to use him to get to the quarterback for sure. And Jaheim's a guy with his athleticism that you could bring off the weak side.
Because they really did that with Beavers as well.
I think Jaheim's got a chance to fill in for Beavers really, really well.
I mean, that's a lofty.
I'm not saying he's going to be as good. Don't get me wrong.
Beavers was really, really good last year.
Yes, absolutely. I think Jaheim has a chance to be really, really good. Now, is it going to be right away? No, it took Beavers 3 years to grow into that, really understanding, who he was and what he could do. But I think just off the top, Jaheim is right in that same ballpark as far as like his athleticism and how gifted he is.
Right.
So, no, linebacker, I feel pretty good about. I think that's, that's going to go back to being kind of the strength of the defense after last year it being corners, secondary, and defensive line.
Well, too, I wonder, like, without having a guy like Majay and that didn't get the counting stats, but drew the attention.
Yeah.
Do you see more linebacker pressure and a more active unit in that sense overall to make up for some of that, to run some games, to run some, zone blitz, A-gap blitz, whatever they want to call it, to help your defensive linemen out by overloading areas, confusing offensive lines, where before you could kind of man up and be like, Curtis Brooks is going to whip this center's ass, most of the time, and Majay is going to beat this tackle most of the time, and we don't have to really do a bunch of stuff behind them. Do you see them have to get a little bit more creative with that group to help out the D line?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to have to, right? Like, you don't have that off the edge speed guy. You're gonna have to change your philosophy quite a bit because if it's Malik Jabari and Briggs like we anticipate, that's 3 guys to play with a lot of power.
Yeah, they'll set the edge like a son of a bitch. But I'm concerned about how many tackles are they really gonna whoop outside. And the other problem too is like the contain element of it. Like, they're just bigger, more power players. they rush or get out of, you're just being susceptible more to outside stuff, whether it's a quarterback, running back, receiver. So, maybe you do bring a Huber up more often in that type of look.
Yeah. I think you have to look at it, obviously. For sure. And this is, we've kind of heard that aggressive, zone blitzing scheme that Tressel likes. Maybe we see more of that this year. Maybe, I think it was pretty obvious last year. He wanted to play zone with his secondary at times.
Oh, yeah. They played a lot more zone than under Marcus.
And I would guess the amount of man we saw was something he was not overly comfortable with. They just had man corners. So, I'm interested to see, well, and a lot of that, we'll move to corners now. A lot of that still probably depends on your corners.
Yeah, the most interesting thing for me, I don't know if I'll say top 3 most interesting things for me. First day, where does Arquon Bush line up?
Yeah. I'm going to guess in the slot. I think that's the right move, but I'm saying that without knowing who the hell's playing. How confident we are about the two outside guys. I think you have 3 guys kind of competing for those 2 outside spots, maybe 4, depending on where Justin Harris is at, coming back from his neck injury. But you have Jaquan Shepard, you have Todd Bumpus, you have Sammy Anderson, potentially JQ Hardaway, but I would guess that's,
I would think the betting money is on Shepard, Bumpus, and Arquon. It's just a matter of where's Arquon.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule out Sammy. Sammy's an interesting one because I think.
Well, here's the other thing though. Before we get to that, if you move Arquon outside, who are you putting in the slot?
It would be Taj Ward. That's the guy that's been filling in the slot when Arquon's
so
dealt
then,
with injury issues.
Does that mean that your 3 best corners aren't out there at the same time?
Right. That's why I typically tend to believe that Arquon will be in the slot.
I do too. I also think that that's his best spot. But, if you decide to move him, then I don't think Bumpus or Sammy are going in there.
I wouldn't think so either. Those are longer, more rangy outside guys. I guess you could make the point that Arquon
Justin's always seemed like a slot guy to me, but
I would agree. Or field. I think he could be a field guy. But yeah, that's where it's going to be pretty interesting. Is do you decide that that's the best spot for Arquon for the health of the defense, or do you feel like he played good soldier, waited his turn to get one of those outside spots, and you give him a shot to win it? Right?
Yeah, because let's be real, most guys don't want to be labeled a slot because they all have aspirations to go to the NFL. Slot dudes just don't make the money that outside guys do.
Ask Mike Hilton, who's the best slot corner in the NFL, basically, right?
Yeah, I would say he's easily top 3, and he's the 3rd highest paid corner on his own team.
Right.
No, one of those guys is about to get his ass cut, but he's still making less than Cheeto.
Right, and for good reason. Cheeto's a hell of a
he's really good, but you're talking about the best at their position, arguably, and has been for several years. And the Steelers didn't want to pay him, and the Bengals got him for $6 million a year.
Right.
So
yeah, that'll be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised. I'll actually say I wouldn't be surprised if they give Arquon that chance to see if he's an outside guy to start camp.
Yeah, I would hope at some point your he's out there just to see. I mean, what if guys get hurt? You know, can we move him out there? Can someone else?
What if he's by far the best option? Right?
I'm sorry, well, I didn't hear you.
What if he's the best option outside?
Well, yeah, sure.
You have to find out.
Yeah, I mean, we're saying like his best spot is in the slot, but that's assuming that the other two guys, whoever the two outside guys are, aren't a couple slapdicks.
Right.
And you're like, we got to put him out there. We can't stop anybody.
I mean, I think those two guys are going to be good. But you never know. Like that's the.
I think our fans need to like
understand how
go
good
watch
Sauce
some
was.
very average college defensive backs all summer.
Yeah,
like some very average pass defenses all summer to get an idea of like reprogram their brains into like giving up 330 yards passing a game isn't like that terrible when you've been giving up like 195 for the last 2 years. Like,
dude, I've been saying that for months. I
feel bad for those dudes. They're going to give up a deep ball or bust a coverage, and people are going to want to kill them. And it's like, wait a second, like you've just been watching the best corner duo in the country for 2 years. Like,
right.
This sport is not what you've been used to watching. Like,
you're not supposed to give up under 200 yards passing a game. That's not how this works.
No. So, there's some reprogramming of what pass defense looks like needs to happen.
There are games coming that whoever is the boundary corner is going to give up more yards in a game than Sauce gave up in a season.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a 150-yard dude. Like somebody's number one guy is going to get 150 at some point. It's not going to happen a lot, but there's going to be one.
You hope not, but yeah.
Right.
I mean,
there's going to be one.
This whole like taking away an entire side of the field, that shit's over.
That's not supposed to happen. Ever. Like that's not how the game is played anymore. So yeah, and we've warned of this a lot. Be prepared because it's going to be challenged. We just for 3 years we've watched one dude just go back to right before
the second half
took over.
The second half of 19.
Yeah, go back to the first half of 19. When, don't get me wrong, who was the transfer?
Oh, Cam Jeffries.
Cam Jeffries and Kobe were pretty good. They were pretty good. But the teams were still racking up, 250, 275 yards passing. And people were upset. And then Sauce emerges, and all of a sudden, nobody can pass on Cincinnati anymore. And there's a very good reason for that. This is a guy that now Daniel Jeremiah has as his number 4 player in the draft.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm to the point now. As long as he doesn't shit the bed this weekend,
he's a top 10 pick.
I'll be pretty. It's a better than 50-50 shot that he's a top 10 pick, in my opinion. Now, shit. I mean, guys go here, guys go there. He ends up going 12 or 14, whatever. But like. Yeah, I mean he's damn near consensus, almost consensus CB1 from what it sounds like.
Yeah.
We'll get into one person's positional rankings where he is not CB1 and the guy that is CB1 is not Derek Stingley.
Do we have to talk about that guy's rankings?
I mean, he's quite well known.
I know, I'm kidding.
He's the only one that I've seen that has like a full-on positional ranking, like down to like top 15, 20 of every position. So yeah,
that's what spring's going to come down to.
Well,
I think,
no, we didn't even get to safety.
No, I'm talking about I'm wrapping up corner.
I thought you were wrapping up.
No, that spring's going to come down to for corner. is Jaquan Shepard the heir apparent to Sauce, or do they feel like one of Bumpus or Sammy is better suited for that boundary spot? Who are the other guys over at the field? And where's Arquan? Like, and where is Justin Harris? How far along is JQ Hardaway? Like, there's a lot to watch at cornerback, which is why I've said all along, like, that's going to be my favorite position to watch throughout the spring. Safety, Javon Hicks. Dingle is going to probably get the first crack at that other spot. I think you have three guys that are going to be nipping at his heels in Amorion Smith, in Isaiah Cox, and
Byron Threats.
Byron Threats, yeah. And Threats is likely. I think if I had to guess, it'll be Threats next to Hicks.
Like, you mean starts. Like at Arkansas?
Yeah.
All right. I'll put my money on Cox.
Okay. He's going to have to pass two guys. That's where I think it's tough for him. He's going to have to pass not only Threats, but he's going to have to pass Dingle. Not to say that he can't do it, but Cox or Threats was clearly the guy they groomed.
Yeah,
like, they got him some snaps. They got him special teams. He was the guy that played special teams. So in the Luke Fickell like lineage, next up is usually the guy that was the primary special teams guy.
Right. Oh yeah. So, I just think there's something like
I don't disagree. I'm just saying
Brady always seems to like get a mention when we talk about dudes and attitude and buy-in and all that stuff that the strength coach loves to talk about. He always seems to find a way to mention Isaiah Cox.
I think the most impressive thing to me about Isaiah Cox, see how I did that? I didn't say the most impressive thing to me about Cox, so I didn't want Aaron to clip it. The most impressive thing to me about Isaiah Cox is whenever you saw Brian Cook, Isaiah Cox was like 6 inches away, like absorbing. They worked out together.
I'm sorry, I just laughed in my head.
I know.
It was a great line there that if you're, demented like I am, you laughed at.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to tread carefully here.
6 inches away.
I know. Yeah. I promise we're not 5, but we might be 13. Did Aaron just make a comment and then put his comment on the?
Yes, the jokes are writing themselves.
But Isaiah, we'll just call him Isaiah, was right there with Brian Cook at all times, like just trying to absorb everything like a sponge, trying to, be right in his hip pocket, and I think that will do him well long term. But if I had to guess, Threats has the edge here.
I think he has the upper hand going in. It just seems like he might be one of those dudes that is a fast riser, and if Brady seems to talk about him a good amount, that Luke, is probably in that same vein.
Hicks backup. That's a very interesting one. Because I think the answer to who will primarily take reps at the 2 behind Javon Hicks, I think it'll be Will Adams.
That's like a Will Adams, Amari McDonald thing, right?
Amarian Smith
or De'Ari
McDonald. I would probably put Amarian Smith ahead of De'Ari.
I just didn't know if any of the guys were in, is Smith in the running for both spots where sometimes
potentially,
you got your free and your we'll just be basic
field
free
boundary,
and strong.
yeah.
It's not really what it is anymore, but your single high, which is your Javon Hicks, your Jesse Bates, versus your more hash
box,
Von Bell.
I think Armorion's probably more of a box guy. So we'll see. But what I was getting to is I think Will Adams will be the backup to Javon Hicks. But if someone had to take the field in place of Javon Hicks, I don't know that it would be Will Adams. Make sense?
It does. It's kind of a scary thought regardless.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where you just get dudes running down the middle of the field, 20 yards open, just chucking and ducking, man. Like,
yeah. So depth at safety is critical this season as well. Like, I think they're going to be okay with whoever starts. But they got to start building that safety pipeline going forward.
And that's why I feel like we go back to the front four and the front seven. It's kind of the opposite of the way it used to be. You need to help your DBs out now by getting more pressure, confusing the offense where before it was like, it don't matter what we do. You're not moving the ball.
Right.
Like, we don't need to get creative. We don't need to outsmart ourselves. We don't need to put 30 things in the playbook. We're going to do these 5 things. We're going to do them really good, and you're not going to stop them.
Right.
What are we doing? Get on me for looking down, dude.
I'm answering a question on the board.
Way over here.
Yeah, I run a message board. You were
doing
just
a podcast.
What you were reading a random article.
They can wait.
Just not listening to me.
I was listening.
So it was in response to something I put on the board. I guess we could talk about it here.
Okay.
That's pretty much it for the spring defensive preview, right? Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay. I did get clearance on one more thing I'm hearing in regards to the timestamp that, Aaron. We're done with the defensive preview. Look at you. Look at you. There's a quality control position open on offense, as they just recently lost someone. That role, to my understanding, sources are indicating that role will be filled by none other than former Bearcat bowl game star Michael Colosimo.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Him and I can talk about his time on Rocky Top.
You can. He was at Rocky Top for a couple of years, Kentucky for a couple of years. Spent this year, I think, at Tulane. And now comes back home as a quality control assistant for the Bearcats. So there you go on that. He was a GA here for a little bit. And is a guy that a lot of ties to the program. So good for him. Did you know his dad was a star running back in college at Colgate?
Yeah, at Colgate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His dad's done one, if not more, of my dad's knee surgeries. We've known, I mean, obviously when you're at football, when you're a little kid, you've known him your whole life. So
yes. So yeah, add that to the mix. You want to get into those positional rankings as we go into the combine, kind of heating up tomorrow?
We can talk combine. Yeah, Dez tomorrow, Alec Pierce tomorrow. Coverage starts at 4 on NFL Network. I'm not entirely sure when the actual drills start, but I mean, it's going to be interesting. Malik Willis is not going to run, so I think that gives Dez an avenue to kind of be the best. I don't know what other drills testing wise Willis is going to do. I don't understand why he's not going to run and he's going to wait until his pro day. Like, if you think you're fast, then run. And I think you're on mute.
Generally, I was going to say, generally the reason you do that is I believe the combine is laser timed.
Yes.
or pro days are hand timed.
Yeah.
And hand time tends to be a lot more player friendly than
yeah, but I mean, when you're a
timed.
quarterback, how much is it really gonna? I mean, if you're gonna
For
run
him,
if you're gonna run in the low 4.5s, you're fast as you know. You're plenty fast, and that's the thing too. Is we're gonna hear a lot of, oh my god, this guy ran a 4.37.
right?
That doesn't really matter. It's all about thresholds. Like, are you this fast? Okay, fine. Being that much more faster than are you this fast isn't really that important.
Right.
Just like
that's fair.
Can you?
But I'm just telling you that the logic is probably.
Oh, I'm
let's
sure
not run a laser time. Let's run a hand time.
You know, whatever helps him get to the Steelers. Go ahead.
You're dying for him to go to the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm not sold on him at all. But no, Dez, he's gonna go through the paces. I mean, I think he's got a chance to help himself out a bunch. I think there's still no real separation. Granted this can obviously change after tomorrow. I've held firm that I think he's a second round guy. But
we've seen a lot of second round quarterbacks go in the first round because somebody either falls in love or feels that like I got to jump up and get him.
Pre-combine, everybody's this quarterback class isn't any good and blah blah blah. Once free agency's basically over in 3 weeks, and none of these veteran quarterbacks get traded. Like I don't think Aaron Rodgers is getting traded, Russell Wilson ain't getting traded. Who knows what's going on with Deshaun Watson? Like when the main guys don't move, guess who's going to start looking a lot better to some of these teams? All these crappy quarterbacks that they've been shitting on for the last 2 months. So
boy, I saw the biggest code in the world today.
What's that?
I don't know why that teams were surprised that quote unquote surprised that Malik Willis knew how to like sit down and talk offense and get on the whiteboard, which is basically code for no, he's black. We thought he was stupid.
Well, I think it's code for the offenses he was running. A junior high quarterback could run those. So,
yeah, but you see this every year. Every year, somebody's surprised that the black quarterback is smart.
Right. But I think that I don't know if it's as much that as he was in Gus Malzahn and Hugh Freeze's offense. So it was one read and then scramble.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and we'll see. You're not going to see it as much tomorrow because it's not like there's a lot of coverage going on. But his problem, especially this year, was middle of the field, congested areas like second and third reads because they don't do that.
Yeah.
So how much time does that take to learn and get comfortable with standing in the pocket when before it's like I look over to the right, guy's not open, I'm running.
When you watch some of that stuff, it really does make you appreciate how
good quarterbacks are. Like when they do full field reads and they're standing back there and you got like 2.5, 3 seconds to process. One's not open, two's not open, three's not open, go back to one because now he is open. Like it's insane how smart and quick and just all of these things that these quarterbacks are.
And when you look at Dez, like how complex this offense actually was in comparison to what a lot of other guys in college were running. Not that it was this crazy complex offense, but it wasn't one, back foot, one read, take off.
I don't know if we talked about it. The comment was made probably like 3 weeks ago or so, but Mike Renner from PFF, he doesn't have Dez as his number one quarterback, but he said like he's the most ready mentally and physically to actually come in and play now if you needed him to.
And that's why.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you compare him to the other quarterbacks, Sam Howell, Matt Corral, Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett. None of them really ran quote-unquote pro style. Now, that's a 2000s term that isn't really a thing anymore either. But
everybody's running spread now, but
exactly. But there's variations to it, and there's how you process your personnel groups, how you process the play, what kind of routes are people running? Like, that's the other thing too, is like Malik Willis probably only threw to like 3 or 4 routes.
Right. Des threw 30.
All of them. He threw all of them.
Yeah.
There's 9 routes in the route tree. I mean, he threw all of them. It's very similar to like talking about UCF. They run like 3 routes. So, I'll be excited to just watch and see how he does, how his accuracy is. I mean, they make a big deal out of like, oh, they've got all new receivers. If you're good, it doesn't matter.
Right.
How's his accuracy? How does he look? How does he look like he feels comfortable? Is he like so narrow focused that he's not interacting with all the guys? Is he out there just letting it fly? Is he having fun? Like, they look at all of that stuff.
Right.
So, he was with the list we were talking about was Dane Brugler, who's kind of the draft guy for the Athletic. He had him 5th, which to me at this point doesn't really mean much.
Right.
Like I said, you haven't had the combine, and teams that are hoping to get a quarterback, they haven't even had the chance to get him. So, what that means, I don't know. I mean, part of me wants him to get drafted as high as possible. The other part of me wants him to go to specific situations where I think he has the best chance to grow and then play down the line and not be in a bad spot.
Yeah. All right. Running back. Do we have a Jerome Ford top 10 in running backs?
He is 14th.
Okay.
Which running back is, what do you kind of like your flavor of ice cream? What are you looking for? What do you like? I think he's going to test really well. But
his tape's really good.
His tape is good. 14th, if you're just going off of like trying to slot guys from a draft perspective.
5th round.
4th, 5th round, depending on who likes you. Yeah. Because I don't think you're going to see any. I don't think you'll see any in the 1st round. And then you might see 2 or 3, 4 in the 2nd. Then you'll start to see that big chunk in the 3rd, 4th, 5th.
Yeah.
But I mean, with running backs, like, dudes can run slow, and then you got to go back and look at the tape and go, okay, I thought this guy was fast, but now he's a 4.59.
Right.
Like, I got to go rewatch him. Like, a lot of these drills are to confirm what you thought or to make you go back.
Right.
So he's definitely going to have a chance to jump up, depending on what everybody else does. Because, like, some dudes aren't going to run fast.
Right.
You just know that that's who they are. And does that matter? Does that matter to the teams whenever they're drafting?
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver Pierce is 15 on the list.
I think that's low.
He's going to test off the charts. It might be low, but with this wide receiver group, that's borderline 2nd round.
Yeah. Late 2nd, early 3rd, somewhere in there.
You're going to get 5, maybe. I feel like 5, maybe 6 in the 1st. And then I think there's a pretty big gap after those guys. But I mean, just look at who goes to the Super Bowl and how the sport is made. Like, you need dudes on the outside. So, like, guys are still going to go.
Yeah.
So his testing could push him into the second. Right now, I would still kind of put him in the third. But, I mean, that's still top 100, top 90 something pick. So,
yeah. Nothing tight end, nothing offensive line. Where is Myjay?
Myjay is 13th, which feels about right to me. This defensive edge class is loaded. I mean, you could have 6 or 7 guys go in the first round easy. And I think he's an easy second rounder. Like, there's not a ton of, in my opinion, like delineation. Like, I want to see what he weighs, and then I want to see what he runs. But, like, he's not a first rounder because he's not 6'4" or taller and 260 or more.
He's 6'4" or taller. He's just not 260 or more.
Right.
Yeah.
And he doesn't
Well, you
have,
said
like,
6'4" or taller. He's 6'4".
Yeah. He doesn't have the crazy get off bend, like explosion. He's got good initial, like, off the line, he's whipping tackles, but, like, you see some of these smaller, like, some of these dudes that are just, like, shot out of a cannon. I just think he's right in there, second round, you know, situational dude to start on a 4-down front defense.
Yeah.
Unless he can, you know, that's the question. They're like, okay, yeah, can he get to 260? Okay, but then what does that mean to his game?
I don't think the question is, can he get to 260? I think he can absolutely get to 260.
He just can't stay there once the season starts.
Right. That's the question. Like, the question is, can he stay at 260? Getting to 260, I don't think it'll be. He's been up in the 250s, like, and he's got a great frame. He can get there.
Right, but, like, what's the point in getting there if you can't
not
stay there when
right.
you're not the same player? Like, we just use you at 245 to 250 in your best ways.
Right. Which situational edge rusher?
Yeah, I mean, I want to you talk about something real quick while I look this up, because I want to kind of compare the two.
Here's a hypothetical. Jets are early second round, right?
Yeah.
Myjay has been a pet project of Greg Scruggs for a long, long time. Could potentially see the Jets tipping their hand here, and that they want their assistant D-line coach.
I don't think he can go that. He can't go that high.
You don't think?
10th, like roughly the 10th pick of the second round?
Yeah.
No. There's going to be some, like, first round fallers at that point.
Yeah, but if you think he can be an impact rusher, you think he can be an impact get to the quarterback guy in this league anymore, quarterback, cornerback,
for sure,
offensive
but
line.
I also don't know, like, the
get
Jets,
to the quarterback. They make terrible decisions all the time, Dave.
Right, but I don't know what their defensive line looks like.
It's obviously not great.
Yeah. Well, here's a comp. The Joseph Osai, who the Bengals drafted last year in the third round.
Yeah.
6'4", 256. Now I think he was much more raw than Myjay is. Like, Myjay's played a lot more snaps.
And Joseph Osai was the talk of camp.
Right. I mean, I think that's what you're looking at when you come in.
Okay. I think the Jets.
What are we setting the over under at pick 40 or something?
I don't know. I'm just saying that, the Jets took a chance on Greg Scruggs. Maybe that's why. Maybe they take him in the third. Maybe it's not in the second. Maybe they target him in the third.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, linebacker. Where's our man Darian Beavers? Anywhere?
Beavers is 13th.
Okay.
It feels kind of low, but like linebacker it's like the running back of defense. Like you can just get by, you can get by with just not elite linebackers. So where do teams, you're going to have Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean in the first round. Yes. But after that, like, who knows? Like, how many it just feels like you're going to have to love a linebacker to use like your second round pick for a linebacker over an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, a corner, or a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So it just feels like third, fourth round.
Yeah. That's fair. All right. Sauce
second behind Trent McDuffie from Washington, which all the guys that come out of Washington to me are the same. Like they're fine. They're good. But like Trent McDuffie doesn't have Ahmad traits.
No.
And if he runs fast, and I heard starting to hear that he might weigh in a little light, and I'm like, what 190, 195? Like that's that big of a deal. I mean, but it's all about what's he going to run. Because if you're 6'3" and you're 195 and you run in the mid 4.4s, like you're getting it.
Right.
So, I mean, I feel like it's almost gotten to the point where the stats and like the anomaly of the whole like didn't allow a touchdown his whole career, and the whole like didn't allow more than 13 yards to any wide receiver has turned now into, well, we got to find something to knock him for because there's no way he can be this good. So it's like, oh, he might weigh in on the lighter side. Like, okay, whatever. That's the thing.
Right.
That's the thing you're gonna like say that he's not cornerback one because of when the other guy is 5'11", 195.
The Stingley thing for me, he hasn't been good since 2019. The last time Derek Stingley was a good corner, COVID hadn't been invented yet.
I think that's starting to catch up to him. I mean, it sounds more and more like as scouts and coaches get involved and not them just media mocks.
Yeah.
That the whole like your best ability is availability, and what's the last thing we've seen on tape from you, and you're still not healthy, like you're not working out this week, like like you've been out of eye, not out of mind, because he keeps getting talked about because he did have an incredible 2019, but like
yeah, it was awesome. That was 2019,
right? That only helps you for so long. I mean, that's like a baseball player. Oh, you hit 40 home runs in 2018. Well, yeah, but that's not who he is anymore. Like, your great year in 2019, that doesn't mean that that's what player you are anymore.
Right. It blows my mind to still see him above Ahmad. It does.
I think those things are just strictly on like ifs. If he's healthy and if he returns to form. If he's healthy and if he returns to anywhere near 2019, he's the best player in the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, like I don't really think that's up for debate. But those are two pretty big ifs. I mean, the guy's been hurt. It still isn't, I guess, 100%. And the guy didn't play well the last time he was on the field. So, those are pretty big ifs to draft a guy super high on. Kobe's at 10. I mean, I think he's a second-round guy now as long as he doesn't run some crazy slow number this weekend.
Yeah.
Just from the standpoint of, like, you're going to have that Sauce, Stingley, Trent McDuffie, and Andrew Booth from Clemson. Or
kid from Florida.
I mean, but like those are your four for sure first rounders.
I've seen the kid from Florida pretty high on a lot of boards too.
I mean, I think it could be, but like I know for a fact those 4 guys are going in the first round.
Okay, I got you.
Then you have Kyrie Elam from Florida, Roger McCreary from Auburn, this kid from UT San Antonio, Tariq Woolen, who apparently is like 6'3", 200 pounds and might break John Ross's 40 record.
Oh, wow.
So he's shooting up boards.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and then so you have that guy. You got Martin Emerson from Mississippi State.
Also John Ross.
Yeah, exactly. Speed's not everything. But you got like that next group of like 4 guys that seem to be getting some buzz. You know, they're going to go at the end of the first round up to the middle of the second.
Yeah.
So then, Kobe's going to be positioned somewhere in that second half of the second round to the beginning of the third.
Yeah.
And like we've talked about in the past, it totally like what scheme are these teams drafting?
Right.
And what do they value? Do they, from a corner standpoint, long arms, speed, it's very, very specific. Like fans that don't follow every team, and how could you or why would you? A player might fall, and it's strictly because, like, yeah, we love the guy, but like he doesn't fit what we do. So, if a team is looking for a player just like Kobe, then yeah, maybe he does go like middle second
round. And then Brian Cook.
This one's the biggest one to me, which makes me kind of, perk up a little bit. He's got Cook 6th, which, given the 5 guys in front of him, like that's second round. If you have Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame is going to go in the first round. Then you have Daxton Hill of Michigan, Jaquan Brisker of Penn State, Jalen Petrie of Baylor, and Lewis Cine of Georgia. That would not surprise me if one of those guys goes in the first round. Then you have the other 3 that are probably going in the top 50. So the first 20 picks of the second round.
Yeah.
And then you got Cook. If you're just going off of this. Now, obviously, this is just one guy's thing. But, like, if he has I don't know what he's going to be able to do. But if he does some stuff and then does more at Pro Day, like, dude, could be a second-round pick.
The reality would probably be third, right? But
I think so, but it just depends. Like, it depends. Like, if all those other guys test really well too, and that pushes them up, that automatically pushes him up.
Right.
Like, I could see those guys I just named. I could see the Bengals taking one of those guys at 31.
Wow.
And having like Von Bell's going into the last year of his contract, we've got our young up and coming safety to plug right in.
Yeah. Get a year on special teams and
play a ton on defense, but yeah, I mean, like this is because that's the thing too. Like the end of the first round, the good teams, the Bengals, like you can draft much more for need now, and you can look at your roster and go, okay, this guy's going to be a free agent after this year. Sure, we'd love to sign him, but if we don't, we love Daxton Hill, and he can just plug right in. If you take care of certain things in free agency. So, I mean, he really is like, and I just think there's already some buzz with him. And that'll only grow if he's able to have a good weekend. If I don't know I haven't seen what he's going to do or not do.
He's going to crush in interviews and once he gets to start talking.
I just feel like
tell his story.
He's still. I mean, he might not do bench press, but unless he's still doing rehab, I feel like the way he is, it's going to be hard to keep him off the field.
He's not one to sit out.
Even though it's a different game now, the agent's going to be like, dude, you're not doing anything.
Right.
There's no reason to do anything. Just go do your pro day. That's going to kill him to go there to just talk to teams and have his shoulder looked at.
That's not how Brian Cook rolls.
No.
Luckily, there's not a game, because if there is a game.
Yeah, but I mean, realistically, just with the uncertainty that running backs get drafted, you could have 7 of the 8 guys go in the first 4 rounds pretty comfortably,
or at worst 5, right?
Yeah, that would be all 5. That would be all 8. But I mean, and the other 7 guys, Dez, Sauce, Majay,
Cook, Kobe, Beavers.
Cook, and Kobe. You could have 5 in the top 2 rounds there.
Yeah.
So it's going
to be a busy Thursday and Friday.
Friday, Saturday. Thursday's just round 1.
Yeah, you're going to get Sauce.
I mean, you'll get Sauce. But
and then 2 and 3 are on Friday. Rounds 1, 2, and 3. It's going to be way busier than normal for the Bearcats. There will still be some things to watch on Saturday, days, rounds 4 and 5. But abnormally from what we're used to.
Oh, yeah.
We're used to tracking who's the one guy that's going to go on Friday and then watching, rapid fire picks on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a little different scenario is what I was getting at. Our focus mainly is going to be on Thursday with Sauce, maybe Dez. And then Friday, I think, is going to be a flurry of activity. So stay tuned to the Bearcat Journal Twitter, as I'm sure Dave will be tracking everything tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday.
It's RAS score season.
You love the RAS scores.
Relative athletic scoring, man.
You love the RAS scores.
It's a nice, great little snapshot of what a guy is.
Right. Sure. You got anything else?
I don't think so.
No Bengals reaction to all the
all the what?
All the coach interviews and press availability the past 2 days.
They said nothing.
Frank Pollock likes guys that eat glass.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Eats glass. Brian Jensen, definitely a glass eater.
I don't trust anyone that can eat glass.
I mean, it seems like they're poor decision makers.
If you can willingly eat glass, I either want to be your best friend or I don't want to have anything to do with you, because you could turn at any moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I would rather I'd rather a guy eat gravel. I want the guy that eats gravel.
I mean, is that much? Is there that much of a difference there? I mean, I guess it's not going to cut your mouth, but you're not going to be able to chew it either.
But it's not going to cut your mouth, and it's not going to cut your butthole on the way out.
I don't think it's coming out. I think
it's coming out.
I think if you eat glass,
it's glass is gonna destroy your insides.
Removed internally before the exit strategy.
If you eat some gravel, you're just gonna poop out some rocks.
Yeah, bound yourself up a little bit.
Right. I don't want to know anybody that eats glass. I'm good with that.
No, it sounds like.
What does Frank Pollock do in his spare time? Does he eat glass?
I don't know.
All right. Sorry,
I don't think so.
Off track there. Maybe he did when he was younger.
Maybe
he grew out of it. That's how he knows about it now. That's why he likes guys that eat glass, because he used to eat glass. and now he's moved on.
But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Like it's going to be interesting to see the reaction. Free agency starts in 2 weeks. Even you can technically have the tampering period Monday or whatever.
Yeah,
but like, even though they've been more aggressive than ever the last 2 years, the way they go about it is not any different. Like the contract structures aren't different, and what they value isn't different. So I would not expect a big contract to a guard. If they weren't willing to pay Joe Thuney and they weren't willing to pay Kevin Zeitler what he got from the Ravens last year,
they hate guards. They hate guards,
and we can say that's wrong.
I think it's wrong, but they hate guards.
But like that's the way they do it. So why get yourself all mad when they just understand how they operate, and it won't bother you. Like you can disagree, but like I can say they should give this guard like $10 million a year, but they're not gonna. So I think you're looking at a new center and a new right tackle, possibly, which that doesn't have me doing somersaults because it's not like there's a ton of great right tackles out there, but they're clearly better than what they've had. And then I think you're maybe looking at a guard in the $4 to $6 million range that is your fifth starter / really, really good backup, but still better than Quentin Spain. And then I think 31 is kind of that spot where some of these other guards you'd feel pretty good about drafting and starting right away.
Can they get the kid from Iowa?
The center?
Yeah.
Maybe. I would be pretty stunned if he was still there.
I'm still all in on trade 31 for Tunsil.
Oh, I am too.
All in.
I am too, but that's talk about things that have never happened.
I know.
Like they do not. Again, another one of those things. I don't agree with it. But they are not trading a pick for a player straight up. That's not happening.
Yeah, like I said, 31, Trey Waynes.
I saw a guy on Twitter today say they should trade 31 Trey Waynes, a 7th rounder. Or no, it was 31, a 7th rounder, and Auden Tate. And I'm like, if Duke Tobin can trade a free agent, he should absolutely be executive of the year. But they just won't trade a draft pick for a player where they don't get. Even the Cordy Glenn trade was a pick swap.
Yeah.
Like they didn't net lose any picks in that trade. They just traded for the player and then moved further back in the first round.
Well, but the other thing we know is that Houston is terrible at trading.
Yeah, but so are the Bengals.
Yeah, that's fair.
And they put what I think to be unreasonable price.
They traded fucking what's his name for BJ Hill.
That's true. They also traded 2 draft picks for Ryan Finley.
They got 2 first rounds for Carson Palmer.
No, they got one first and a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like the final frontier of like this is totally different. Like we see a player on a team that they're looking to
a first round draft pick.
They're looking to likely move, and this guy is way better than anybody we're going to take in the first round and helps us at a need spot. We are going to give up this first round pick and probably more. Like if I'm the Texans, I'm like, you're not giving me just that.
Yeah, Trey Waynes. Here you go.
Yeah.
He's yours.
But yeah, it's
give them the first, and what do they have? A complimentary fourth?
No, I don't even know if they're going to end up getting that because John Ross didn't play enough snaps.
God, that guy sucks.
It would have been a fourth if he played a certain. The formulas. Right. Nobody even knows how they work this damn formula, but it sounds like he's not going to have played enough snaps because then if he doesn't count, then they have a perfectly even free agents out, free agents in.
Gotcha.
And they won't get a comp. If he somehow counts, they'll likely get an extra 4th round pick.
See, I'm all for that. Like you know, the 31 and John Ross.
And comp picks can be traded now.
Yeah. 31 and John Ross for Laramie Tunsil.
Oh yeah, John Ross that's on the Giants.
Well, no, the pick that.
Oh, the 4th rounder.
The 4th rounder that is John Ross. Like, you know.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, we got this 4th rounder because of John Ross, so he becomes John Ross on the chessboard. So, you know, 31 and John Ross for Laramie Tunsil. I'm in.
Yes. I'm sure the Texans would be too.
Dude, it's crazy though. You see like these fucking NFL all pros and they're like, well, they just got traded for a 6th round pick straight up.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing? I don't understand. I don't understand this part of the NFL. Like I see stuff happen and I look at it and I go, how? Why?
Well, a lot of it depends on like
I'm going to trade a 4th rounder for this NFL All Pro.
What's left on their contract? How old are they?
NFL All Pro.
Well, like Von Miller got traded for a 2nd and a 3rd.
Yeah, I'd trade a 2nd and a 3rd for Von Miller.
But he's older and a free agent. So like the Rams weren't going to give that much up for him.
A 2nd and a 3rd is pretty significant.
Yeah. No, it is. But he's like, that's what I'm saying. Like he's a
pretty significant player.
Hall of Fame player.
Yeah. Laramie Tunsil's what, 27?
I mean, not everybody gives up like a 1st and a 2nd for Carson Wentz. So
right.
Quarterback's just so much value.
Yeah. You think we could trade Ryan Finley?
No, because I think he's on he's on the Texans too, I think. But
I know.
Or he was.
I'm just being a smartass now.
But that's like the thing. That's if you're one of these teams at the top, I would just draft another quarterback anyway because they're always going to have value. Someone's always going to think that they can like fix them or, you know, just stockpile quarterbacks and keep flipping them for first rounders. So
Here's the problem if you're Cincinnati. Nobody in this town is ever like everybody always wants the backup quarterback. That's not going to exist here.
No.
Nobody's ever going to be like, man, we could just get Des Ridder in the game and get Joe out of there.
I mean, for all the shit the Bengals have done, and they have been good at picking quarterbacks.
Yeah, they have.
Now it's a lot easier when you've got the
number one
pick.
Overall quarterbacks.
But hey, a lot of those guys bust out too. So
yeah, for sure. All right, well, I don't have anything else. Do you?
Nope.
That's going to wrap it up. We shall see you, I guess, Wednesday. Well, it depends. If they're the 7 seed, then they're going to play early on Thursday. Then we can do Thursday night because then we'll have the game to talk about. If they play late Thursday, then we're going to have to do Wednesday. We have spring football. If you're looking for the schedule, we have spring football on Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday of this coming week. So the first 4 spring football practices are in week 1. Then there's an off week for spring break. Dave and I might be working on a pretty special guest for the off week.
Might be.
And then they'll come back and do 4 weeks of 4 weeks of Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, including the spring game on April 9th, which is going to be a bitch because that's also the first open AAU weekend of the spring. I guess Easter is what's screwing with that this year. That first weekend is not usually until later in April.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never messed with the spring game before. So I guess I'm going to have to go to Indianapolis. Under Armour and Adidas are in Indianapolis that first AAU weekend. So I'm probably going to have to go to Indy Friday, watch some games, come back for the spring game on Saturday, and then go back after the spring game, catch what else I can on Saturday and Sunday.
There's also a baseball game the same day as the spring game. So spring game, they're hoping will be noon, 1 o'clock. Baseball games at 4.
Yeah.
Sounds like there are plans in the works to try to see what they can do as far as like turning Shakely Lawn into kind of a grid type experience, make a whole day out of getting everybody out there for spring game and baseball.
One of you guys is going to have to write the spring game report. No, come on.
I don't even know if I'll be there.
I know.
So.
Aaron, you're probably it because I'm going to have to get in my car and drive straight to Indy to get back to AAU.
So yeah, I might. I don't even know if I'll be there. So
April 9th, Aaron, clear that off your schedule, okay? That's not a due date or anything, is it? We're not close to baby time at that point.
No, we're not due till July. We're good.
No, we should be good. You might have to carry a heavy load on April 9th because I'm going to have a shit ton of work to do that weekend. Ugh. But that's why we love this job, right?
That's right.
Correct answer is yes.
That's going to wrap it up. He's Dave Simone. Thanks to producer extraordinaire Aaron Smith. We'll see you next week. We'll see what that looks like as it happens. It is the Holy Grail BCJ podcast right here on BearcatJournal.com.